Hey guys, Kevin here with JCR Off-Road. Today we're going to be installing a set of our aluminum rear JK fenders. Okay, so at this point we need to get this rear fender removed. In order to do that, because we're going to be reusing the plastic inner fenders on this one, I'm going to separate the fender here at all of these rivets. You can drill these out in the center, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pick and just right in the center of these, just push the center right out of it with just a little bit of force. And with the centers pushed out, you can get behind it with your panel tool and just pull that whole rivet right through the hole. Now, with all those rivets out of the way, the only thing holding this outer fender portion on is just some plastic clips fastened through the back of this and into the sheet metal. You're just going to grab a corner here, and with a little outward force, you can start to pop those factory plastic clips out. I mean, they are plastic, so you're probably going to break a couple of these clips along the way, but you shouldn't be going back on with your factory fender at this point, so it's no worry. And then a few of them, as you can see, might get stuck in the sheet metal here, and you just got to get back in here with your panel tool now and clean that all up and get them out of the way. All right, so now you can see with the factory outer fender removed, kind of why I left this in here. Since we're going to be reusing these on this one, you basically need to trace a line following the factory sheet metal right here, right along the top edge of this plastic, and just follow that all the way across. And you don't need to go all the way in here. You can basically just carry that line straight down because there is a dip in right there on the front edge of the fender. And I'm just going to wipe that down before I do it and then trace that with like a silver Sharpie, or if you have a paint marker or something like that, should do the trick. And then like I said, with that wipe down a little bit, just kind of push it up there relatively tight, and then follow right along the edge of this body seam with your marker. Again, just carrying that line more or less straight down. And that'll show you where you got to cut if you're going to be reusing your plastic inner fender. All right, now with that line marked, you can get in here, and the rest of this panel is just held in with some Christmas tree clips. I think there's either 4 or 5 in here, 2 of them right here in the back. And just taking your panel tool, you can pry those out. And with those clips out of the way, that just pulls out nice and easy, and you can either make that cut now or set this aside and make the cut before you put it back in. All right, now with everything removed, we can kind of prep this area for our new fender to go in. To do that, just go ahead and clean up any old dirt and debris that might be stuck in here. Okay, so at this point, you can hold your new fender up here to identify which holes you're going to need to drill out. Because what you're going to need to do in a few of these is install our riv nut inserts. But I went ahead and marked them here so you can kind of see these 2 are just going to get a through bolt and a nut on the back. And then the 3 immediately behind it that I have marked here are going to need to be drilled out to 17/32, as well as it looks like the 3 main holes immediately in front of it, skipping this one here that you see filled with foam. But again, like I said, you can hold your fender up here, line it up with these top 2 holes, and then determine which ones you need to drill. So to do that, we'll take our 17/32 drill, And what I'm going to do here is running it a little bit slow. I went ahead and drilled most of the way through, and now I'm going to turn it in reverse, and it'll actually still drill through that hole and not tear out this thinner sheet metal that we're working with here. All right, so again down here with our 17/32 drill, I'm going to get started and drill most of the way through. And then pause, switch the drill into reverse to finish out that hole, and that way you get a nice clean edge on there and don't tear out any of that sheet metal. Okay, so now with those holes all drilled out, taking your supplied rivet nut install tool that we gave you and a little bit of RTV, you'll want to put a bead around the outside of here. And we're going to use this RTV instead of like touch-up paint or something on these holes, so that it kind of protects this paint, keeps you from getting water in there, and then also seals it around the edge of this rivet nut as it goes in. Okay, and then using an 11/16 wrench in your 1/2-inch socket, you're just gonna try and apply even pressure in and tighten that up until you feel it pinch tight against the sheet metal. And then right here, I feel that snug up, so I'm just going to flip my ratchet in reverse and back that whole bolt and tool assembly out of there. And then just do that on your other 5 holes. Okay, so now that you have all those nut certs installed, you can go ahead and wipe off any excess silicone you might have there. And then taking your new fender, start 2 of your button head bolts just loosely through the 2 center holes, and then hang it by those 2 bolts in the 2 holes up here that you didn't have to drill. And then take your flange lock nuts and just loosely install those on the back side here to hold that in place. Okay, and now that you have it hung in place on those 2 center bolts, you just want to start working your way kind of from the center out. I like to go from the rear first and try and get these 3 bolts started. Just again, working from the center out. You may have to kind of try and wiggle this around a little bit, front to back, up or down. There is a little bit of variation if your nut certs didn't seat quite center in the hole, but you should be able to get those started. All right, and now that we got the back 3 started, we can work our way forward from center, getting these front 3 going in, and just kind of leave everything loose until the very end, just so you don't have to fight tight bolts to try and get things started. All right, and it's going to be a good idea to use a little bit of the supplied anti-seize lubricant here on these bolts, just in case you ever have to take them out later so they're not all stuck in these thread inserts. And now that you have all those bolts started, you can go ahead and tighten all of them down using a 3/16 Allen. So now using a razor blade or an air saw, cut-off wheel, whatever you might have, you can cut out this line that you traced earlier along the body line. Okay, so now with that plastic cut, you can just insert this back in here behind your new fender and reinsert the factory plastic clips down here along the bottom to hold it in place. So as you can see here, that's not the cleanest solution, but it's going to work in a pinch. If you want it to look really good and match your new exterior fenders, check out our inner fenders and get yourself a set of those. All right, so that's pretty much it for this install. If you guys have any questions about these or any of our products, shoot us an email, info@JcrOffroad.com, or give us a call, 269-353-1184.